Let's meet someone who's gone from AFL premiership glory to boardroom leadership. I'm Kate Save. The Inspired CEO starts now. Welcome to The Inspired CEO, where each episode we explore the innovative wellness practices that are driving success and longevity in the modern business world. In this interview, we chat with Andy Gowers, an AFL premiership player, president of the Hawthorn Football Club, an experienced business leader. Andy played 140 AFL games across a 12-year career with Hawthorn and Brisbane, including being part of Hawthorn's 1991 premiership team. After his playing days, he served as Hawthorn's football director during the club's historic three-peat era and was elected president in 2022 off the field. Andy is the co-founder of Vest Advisory and runs elite performance coaching programs. Welcome, Andy. What a CV. Wow.
Thanks, Kate. It's great to be with you.
Well, we were having a really interesting conversation even before we walked in here about
health.
Yes.
Of course we were.
And I think what I love about your career is how you have gone from being just in sport to now leading and still being in sport as well, but in the business world and bringing that all together. How did you get started? Where did this passion come from?
Well, I suppose if I go right back as a little boy, my earliest memories were wanting to play football.
And your dad played?
My dad played, yeah. My late father Trevor played for the Tigers.
Yes.
And I grew up in a footy environment because Dad, when I was born, was playing at an amateur club, the Odds of Variance Footy Club, and I would go along with him to training, not all the time, but sometimes. And quite often after training, if I behaved myself, which meant sitting on the sidelines and not interrupting training, he would take me out onto the oval. And this was before the era of lights at training, so they used to use car lights and so on and train sometimes in the half dark. But he'd kick the big ball up in the air, and if I marked it, I got a milkshake on the way home. Wasn't allowed to tell Mum, and they were called milkshake marks. So ever since I can remember being alive, I've wanted to play football. And then as I got a little bit older, my entrepreneurial brain, I suppose, kicked in through my schooling days. And the only two things I knew when I was getting ready to leave school that I really wanted to do was play, at the time, VFL football, which became the AFL. And run my own business one day. So the entrepreneurial genes were there. Dad was in sales mainly and had been involved in a family business prior. But the football thing was the primary drive. That's what I wanted to be. And
so how early was it when you kind of knew that you were going to make it in football? What age were you when you really knew?
Late. So I was always a good footballer. I knew I had talent. Yeah. But I really applied it properly in my last couple of years at school. So when I got to the senior level of the school, I went to Xavier College, when I got to the senior level into the open age group, I actually changed sports and I was going to do cross country rather than football. I changed sports, and I said to the sports master at the time, who was also the coach of the first 18, Kevin O'Shannessy, I said to him, "Sir, I'm going to do cross country in term 2. And all he said to me was, "I don't care what you do as long as you get your form in on time, and just make sure you don't change your mind," is what he said.
Okay.
And so then, of course, the term holidays hit. I go through, footy season starts, and I'm kicking the ball at the park with my mates through the holidays. And of course, day one in the morning of term 2, I rock up to his office and I said, "Sir, I'm changing my my preference back to footy." And he just looked, he didn't say a word, but he put me in the fifth 18. So I didn't start in the first 18 or the second 18 or the third or even the fourth. I started in the fifth 18.
Punishment for changing your mind.
Basically. Yeah. And I think, I've never asked him properly, but I think the challenge was, if you really want to play football, I'm going to make you earn it. And I'm going to make you work for it. Yeah. And so what ended up happening that year, so I was in year 11, and I didn't play a game in the first 18, but I was an emergency. I nearly played, but didn't play one game that year, so my year 11. Year 12, I played every game in the first 18 in a very strong side. And then, but I still wouldn't have, in my mind, I didn't think I was playing VFL footy at that stage if I'd left school then, but I decided to repeat year 12.
Oh.
And that wasn't to do with footy, that was just, I was young, I was immature, I had no idea what I was going to do study-wise or anything really, other than I had that kernel of an idea about owning my own business one day. And I remember saying to my parents, on the beach during that summer, I just don't feel ready to leave school. And so they were very good about it, and they committed to another year of private school fees, which was probably a big cost at the time. And I repeated year 12, and it was during that year that I knew I was going to the VFL. So I had scouts coming to games.
Wow.
Hawthorn put me on their list. They actually listed me.
Incredible.
Lists were bigger then, but they had a spare spot and they put me on. Mm-hmm. And Richmond were very interested, and I was eligible to go there under the father-son rule because Dad had played enough games. Right. So I had a choice, Hawthorn or Richmond. And in the end, my heart said Richmond. And all I did, when I go back to my childhood, I didn't just want to play VFL footy, I wanted to play for Richmond.
Yes, right.
But when push came to shove, Richmond it wasn't just that they were near the bottom of the ladder, they just weren't as professional as Hawthorn were. Hawthorn's approach to me and Dad was extraordinarily professional, and they had just played in the last, I can't remember the exact number, but lots of grand finals in a row, and they were always up there. And their approach was very professional. And their coach, Alan Jeans, had said to my dad, Andy will start in the under-19s, whereas Richmond said that I'd start as centre-half back in the senior team.
Ooh,
and to me, that didn't ring true.
Yes.
How could someone, and I was 76, I'm 6'3" and a half, and I was 76 kilos.
So tall and lanky.
Very lanky, very lean, very skinny.
But very fast, obviously.
Yeah, good runner, but I just thought, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, and the challenge of making it at the best club really appealed to me, and I ended up choosing Hawthorn. So the brain said Hawthorn. And I remember when I told Dad, because he left the decision up to me, as did Mum, and I came out from my bedroom and I said to Mum and Dad, I've made my decision, I'm going to play with Hawthorn. And a big grin appeared on Dad's face. He would have been sad, but he said, I think you've made an excellent decision. And it was.
You played with some incredible people, didn't you? So this was Jason Dunstall and it was Dermot Brereton.
Gary Ayres, Michael Tuck, Johnny Platten, Chris Langford, Chris Mew, Darren Pritchard, Gary Buckenara. It goes on. Dipper. It goes on and on.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like playing with them? Because some of them were coming to the end of their career when you started, weren't they?
Yeah, look, it was an absolute buzz. And even though I didn't barrack for Hawthorn as a young boy or a young man, I lived in Hawthorn. And so I would sometimes go to Hawthorn training and watch them train. So I knew a lot of the players because I was interested in football broadly anyway.
Yeah.
So it was a real buzz to walk in, the door on my first night of pre-season training, and I felt like stopping them from introducing themselves because I knew exactly who they were. But it was a real buzz, and of course, we were the best side in the competition. So my first 4 years at Hawthorn, we won 3 premierships. Wow. Now, I only played in the third of those in 1991, but we were always up there, and it was a thrill, and it was expected, and it was just an amazing ride.
That culture in that club with all those wins and that hype must have been just
it was amazing. And the other thing about it too was, of those 4 years, my first 4 years, we had 3 overseas trips where we played exhibition games. So 88, 89 and 91, we played exhibition games, in America, in Canada and in the UK. And so we had these 3-4 week overseas trips at the end of our season. That was just an incredible experience. So I got to see the world as well, which I was never expecting.
Yeah. And then, so moving forward, when you wind up playing, you're not playing footy after that, but you go on to be a director. What was that gap between finishing playing and then
being footy director at Hawthorn? It was about 12, 13 years.
And in the meantime, when did your son start playing footy? When did that happen?
Well, he started he's a bit like me, very young, was always into it. You could just tell he wanted to play, and just lived football, just lived it, and spent enough time with me to have it rub off, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I never pushed him, but it was just a natural thing that he loved to do. It was just very similar to me in a way. And so he finished year 12 in 2014.
Yes.
So I was director of footy at Hawthorn then.
Right.
And then he got drafted to Carlton. And so then we started following his journey through the Carlton years. And then I actually resigned from the board because he then got later drafted by the Western Bulldogs.
Right.
And he had three years there and played some senior footy there, won the goal kicking in his first year there. And I felt that was a bit of a conflict when I was footy director at another club.
Yes.
At Carlton it wasn't really, because he never played a senior game.
Okay.
He played in the VFL. But at the Bulldogs he was playing senior footy, and so I had a feeling that would be a conflict, so I stood aside. And that was an amazing thing to watch Bill, ply his trade on the field, and it felt weird in a way to support the Bulldogs, and it was very weird when the Bulldogs played Hawthorn. I have to admit. So
Yes.
I used to say, I hope Bill's best on ground. I hope the Bulldogs play well, but they just lose. that was the way that I used to think about it.
Well, that's how your dad would have felt with
Probably,
Richmond.
that's right.
Yeah.
He would have felt the same. But it was a wonderful thrill to watch Bill, successfully eke out a successful AFL career.
Yeah, what a proud moment. I can just.
That was great.
Incredible. So then moving into the business world. So when did you start your business?
Well, I've had a few different businesses. So really the business journey for me started at uni. So through the schooling years, to be honest, I was never a dedicated student. I did enough to not get kicked out, create as many friends as I could, and play as much sport as I could.
Yes.
And then the learning bug kicked in for me in my later years at uni, and I did a marketing degree at Monash University, the David Simon Business School, because I wanted to own my own business one day, and I figured marketing. Every business needs marketing, so that's why I did that degree. And I've always loved, as I said, business. And Dad was a sales marketing guy as well. He worked with IBM for many years.
Yes.
So I did that degree, and then I finished that just before we moved to Brisbane, and at that stage married, and we'd had 2 of our 3 kids at that point. So I moved to Brisbane with 2 kids, and Bill was born in Brisbane. And then I had some work experience in public relations, marketing, event management, those sort of areas. And then really started my own business. What year would it have been? About 2009, 2010. I did some work at ANZ Bank. And a friend of mine, a guy called Matt Lally, I'll give him a shout out. Matt was the one who guided me into the wealth management area.
Right.
He said, being trustworthy, reaching out to people to see if they need a hand with this area, and then doing a good job and helping them, work out their finances and their wealth and so on, is something I think you'd be naturally geared for. And he was working in that field at the time, because he had as mates can do sometimes, they can really drill into the heart of things. And he said, what are you going to do when you finish playing footy? And I said, I don't know, but it'll be my own business.
Yes.
And he said, yeah, but what business? I said, I don't know. And he was the one who guided me into that world. And so had a very successful wealth management business with a former ANZ colleague, Anud Shangle. So we were partners and still are friends. And we ran that business for about 11 years.
Right.
And one of the things that we got exposed to was the world of succession planning, which is particularly families, but it happens in businesses as well and organisations. But we've got a real focus on families. And this is after we sold the wealth management business, Anuj and I.
Yes.
Thinking about what I was going to do. COVID was in town. Was living down Bayside at this point by the sea, and thinking about what I really wanted to do. And I thought succession planning needs a lot of help. We've got billions and billions. In fact, it's actually trillions of dollars transferring from one generation to the next, because the baby boomers are handing over estates and assets to the next generation.
Yes.
And there are too many families and or businesses that are just not addressing this properly. So I figured that's something that I'm passionate about. I'd seen enough horror stories in my time in the wealth world to know that this was a problem that people faced. And I like getting in and helping people with issues and problems. And as it turned out, I met my business partner through an article in the Fin Review. So David and Michael was quoted heavily in an article in the Fin Review. And on the back of that, we set up Vest Advisory, what would that be now? 2 years ago. We launched 2 years ago. And it's going really well, helping businesses and families with succession, all things inheritance, wealth transfer, family governance, and business governance.
Incredible. And I can see, just talking about your journey as well, how the relationships you've built, the trust that you've built with people, why that business would work so well for you. Because for someone to have these pretty vulnerable conversations, they need to be having them with someone they can trust. And
well, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, you've got to be able to build a strong relationship. Otherwise, how do they know?
You do. Yeah. And look, what we often say, Kate, is you're talking about money.
Yes.
You're talking about family dynamics. And you're talking about ultimately people's lives ending.
Yes.
You know, the end of your life. What are you going to do? Yeah. What's going to happen with your kids, your grandkids, and so on, and legacy. So they're very, very emotive topics.
Yes.
In isolation, throw them all together, and it's no wonder plenty of families say, "Well, I don't want to talk about that at the moment. I'll talk about that later." You know, they postpone the inevitable.
Yeah.
So what we say is the best time to deal with this is yesterday, but the next best time is either today or tomorrow, because time's marching on, and you do need to resolve this and have a plan. And whether they do it with us or someone else who's an expert like us, it's a really good idea to do this whilst you're all getting along well, or as well as you can. And we always face challenges in families, always.
Yes,
we know each other well, where we have similar genes, very similar genes, and we know the buttons to push as well. So it's a really interesting field. I love it. It's an absolute privilege to sit with families, and in some instances business owners and different organisations, and help them navigate these topics and actually come up with what makes sense.
And thinking about now your career with Hawthorn as presidency role with Hawthorn as well, there's such a family club. So there's something about the families and that.
It's a lot in common. Yeah, there is. And, you know, I hope to bring, and it's actually something that I would like to be part of my legacy with Hawthorn, is that succession mindset is embedded in the club.
Yes.
And, you know, we know we're temporary custodians of the role that we fill. We don't know how long we're going to fill it for, because we're not sure what's best for the club. But I reckon it's the same with succession with a family. What's best for the family? And then we work through all the individual members of that family. It's the same in a club. What's best for the club? And then you start to think about, you know, the directors or the staff members or the players or the volunteers or whatever role each person has within the club or within a family. What's the best thing for them? But if you start with a family first in a family succession, and you start with a club first in the club world, you can't go too far wrong.
Makes sense. Now, it hasn't all been roses for you in your career, and particularly in the presidency. And tell me a little bit about some of the challenges you've experienced.
Well, there are always challenges. If there were no challenges, it wouldn't be worth doing.
No, that's right.
So, I always do say that if something is worth doing, there are always challenges, and you have your tough moments. So Hawthorn had been through a little bit of a rocky patch before I was elected. Yes. So if we focus on that example.
Yes.
We'd had a highly publicised First Nations matter that was still brewing when I was elected. And I also wasn't the preferred candidate of the board when I was elected. So I actually opposed the plan that the board had at the time. So that may not have been popular with everybody.
Yes.
I know it wasn't. But I was, and it took me quite a while, like months and months, to actually arrive at the decision that I was going to put my hand up and make myself available. So that took a lot of soul searching, a lot of discussions with people that I trust and respect, and also I needed to be sure that I was the right person to actually make this play.
Yeah. So what is the why behind that? When you say soul searching, it's what were you searching for? What is the why of why you took that on?
Well, the ultimate why is that I felt two main things. One, I owe that club, I owe Hawthorn so much, I'll never be able to repay it.
Yes.
And it has helped me in every element of my life. And I'd actually like to go back on a story from that, why I say that. And the other thing that I felt was, having played at the club before and the relationship building that I felt needed to happen, because the number one thing I campaigned on was unity. I felt like we were not unified and we needed to unify the club.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I needed to be dead sure that I was the right person to hopefully play that role and help bring everybody together, or as many people as we could.
Yes.
Not everybody will always come together, and that's fine. Every club, there are always people who are disgruntled for various reasons. So you're never going to please everybody, which you can't do. But to unite the club to the degree that I felt was possible,
mm-hmm.
I felt having the playing background would help.
Yes.
Because, and I'm naturally someone who likes building relationships. I love connecting people. I love helping people. So I thought that was a good starting point. And then in terms of owing the club, so if I go back to my playing days, I talked about the fact before that, my first 4 years at the club, there were 3 premierships. Now, I only played in the last one of those. I'd missed 2.
Yes.
And I was in the team in my first year at Hawthorn, but got injured. I hurt my shoulder in the second last round and missed all the finals. And that team won the flag by 96 points. So, and I knew that I was going to be, the coach told me after that grand final, Alan Joyce, that I was going to be in that team. He was going to select me all the way through that year, which at the time when he told me, you'd think that would be good news, but I took it as, oh my God, I've missed out on this premiership. He was going to play me. So I took it very negatively. Then the following year, Alan Jeans came back in to coach, and I didn't get many senior games. I had a knee issue. My shoulder still wasn't 100%. My confidence was a bit down, and I didn't get many senior games, so wasn't playing very well. So if I fast forward into the following year, my life looked like this. My now wife and I had already had our first child.
Yes.
And we were on again, off again. So our relationship was patchy, to put it bluntly. I was not living. So you're a health guru, and I wasn't putting into my body all the things that I should have been to get maximum performance. Put it that way. I didn't feel like the coach was on my side.
Yes.
And I had a lot of negativity running through my brain.
Yes.
And I just wasn't sure whether this football career was going to work out. I wasn't sure whether my personal relationship was going to work out.
Yes.
My whole world, turmoil is probably too strong a word, but definitely there are a lot of question marks.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And the other thing that was happening was I wasn't doing very well at uni either. So I was in all sorts, really. And then I started to work with the club psychologist. Mm-hmm. So a guy by the name of Anthony Stewart.
Yes.
And Anthony worked with me. I resisted going to see him for a long time. And then eventually I thought, I've got nothing to lose. Nothing else is working, why not give it a try?
Tell me about that resistance too. Is that a part of the era that you were playing in, that if you went and spoke to someone, you're admitting...
Yeah, I'm a head case, I don't need to work with a psychologist. I'm stronger than that. Surely I can work my way through it on my own. I knew I was talented, and I knew I had the bones of a really good footy career, but it just wasn't working out for me. Yeah. And people were saying to me, "Oh, you're cursed. Did you walk under a ladder?" It's all, and you're getting all this feedback and you're taking it in.
Yes.
And I was perpetuating this in my own head.
Yes.
So what Anthony taught me a couple of really amazing skills that I have passed on to many people.
Yes.
And I love doing this. One of which is ask yourself positive questions, not negative ones. I kept asking myself questions like, why does the coach hate me? Why do I keep getting injured? How come I keep missing out on premierships? Am I ever going to be a senior player? Am I ever going to play in a premiership? Why is my relationship patchy? Why am I, all of these negative questions. And what your brain does, and I'm not a psychologist, but what I learned was, if you ask your brain negative questions, it will come up with all the negative answers. This is why the coach hates you. And so these are all rolling through my brain, and that's what I focused on. And that's why I think life was not going well for me at the time. So what he taught me to do was two main things. One, write yourself positive questions. So I started journaling. So at the age of 21, I became a consistent journaler, and I still journal to this day.
Yeah.
And he said, flip the question. Don't ask, why does the coach hate me? What do I need to do so that the coach loves me? What do I need to do to stop being injured? How can I play in the premiership? And I knew all the answers to those questions.
Gosh.
And so he just got me to flip my own narrative. That was the second part. And the first part was the journaling. So I have journaled consistently since then. I have got books and books and books in a folder or in a cupboard that I've done since 1990. And basically my world changed from that time on.
So advice that you would give someone as a leader now and someone who is leading people in a really tense time, what advice would you give them when they feel like, I don't know if I can do this, it's too hard. Where do they start?
Well, that's a very broad question, but I think the first thing is to actually admit that you've got some issues and to say, the first question is to ask yourself, are you happy with your life now or not? Yes or no? And if it's a no, then there are various things that they can do and people that they can see.
Yeah.
But what I've done for myself, and I've started to coach and teach other people in this world now on this, is set up what I call an elite performance program.
Yes.
And the luck that I had, and that's why I love passing it on, and it goes to the heart of why I'm really pleased and proud to be doing what we're doing at Hawthorn. The luck that I had was that at the age of 21, I got exposed to the elite of everything. So we had a dietitian. Karen Inge was our dietitian.
Oh, incredible.
Amazing. Yeah. But whatever issue you had in your life, it was either in-house ready for you to be exposed to. So the psychologist was an example.
Yes.
But it could have been a general practitioner in terms of a doctor. It could have been, when I hurt my knee, I had an orthopaedic surgeon who operated on me, who was one of the best. Whatever help I needed on or off the field, I got it. Right. And why was that? That helped me perform at my highest level. To be an elite performer, you need to have a team around you. I often talk about, if you look at the best tennis players in the world, and when they're playing in the major tournaments, or any tournament for that matter, who's in their box? They have a range of people in their box. Now, often it's their spouse. If they've got kids, it's their kids, but they'll have a tennis coach. They might have a serving coach. They might have a dietitian. They might have a doctor, a physio, a massage therapist, all kinds of people. They might have their accountant, who knows? But they have a team of people that help them perform at their best, to be elite. And I think that's where the so-called average person can, with deep reflection, can look at their own world and say, well, who's in my box? Who's in my team? Who's helping me be elite? Who's helping me live my most remarkable life? I'm very big on people living their most remarkable life.
And I think having that experience that lived experience that you've gone through, and the journaling to be able to reflect on that so that you can pass that on, and having you as the president of Hawthorn, how do you think you can get that through the club, that need to look inside and admit the problem and then seek help? Because you had your own issues with admitting it initially, and then getting the help. Is that how do you
that
get
was
people?
the step? Yeah. Look, I think now the modern player is surrounded with people who they don't wait for you to make up your own mind. They just put you in front of the psychologist or whoever you need.
Yes.
I'm pretty confident that's what happens.
Okay.
But outside of that, at Hawthorn, we look to help not just our players, but our staff and so on, in whatever area of life they need help with. And that's why we do live and breathe the family club ethos. Yeah. We really do look at our players and our community around our club as a family, as a big family. And one of the things I said at the time when I was elected was, families have disputes, families have arguments, families have moments when they're not getting along so well. And we've had that period. What we're looking for now is to patch things up. What we're looking for now is unity.
Yes.
So maybe we'll never get there 100%, but it's always a work in progress. But we're working really hard on being as united as we can be. And that's when you can have, it's much easier to have success when you're all pulling in the same direction.
Yes, and I think going back to that start of your career where you've come into this club that's absolutely thriving, I think a lot of people, may go into a job or a workplace or something when things are going well, but it's having the tools when things are not going well to then know what to do, because that's, I guess, where most of us, particularly in Victoria with lockdowns and COVID, everything fell apart because we knew how to grow things, we knew how to build things, we didn't know how to unpack things and start again. And I think with the new club, or the Kennedy
Community Centre,
yes. How do you see that playing a role in the future of Hawthorn?
It will play a huge role. It's a much bigger space, so it's 28 hectares. Now we're not developing all of that at the moment. We're just about to complete stage 1, which is pretty big in its own right. There are 2 ovals that are ready to go.
Yes.
And then there's a community pavilion, and then there's a Harris Elite Training and Administration Centre, high performance centre. And they are quite big footprints on a very big plot of land, but we've got space to grow and space to do other things. But we've also got space to welcome not just the Hawthorn community, but the general community, the community of Dingley and the community of the Southeast. So that pavilion is a community pavilion. That oval is a community oval. So we'll have junior clubs and sports and football teams coming in. And what it looks like in the future, we're open to. There may well be other sports that we welcome into that space. So we are very, very big on helping the community. It's in our DNA. We have done it at Glenferrie Oval. We've done it at Waverley Park, Bunjil-Bogora. We do it in Tasmania. We've been in Tasmania for 25 years. We have about 9,000 members. And one of the things we are most proud of about our partnership with Tasmania is that we have helped everyday Tasmanians with everyday things. So we work in the schools, we work in the community to help with things like literacy and numeracy, food security. There's a whole resilience. There's a whole range of things that we've helped Tasmanians with, from school kids through to adults. And given we've been there for 25 years, in some instances there are 3 generations of Hawthorn members and supporters that are following our club because we've been heavily involved down there.
And that is so much bigger picture than just a football club. That legacy of actually going into the community, families, education, touching all pillars, that's what brings people together. And Mark Cohen, who we met earlier, he said illness comes with I, wellness comes with we. And there's something in that you've got to create a we to have wellness, not the I. And I feel like back in the past, maybe sporting clubs were more about the I. And now it's about the we.
Yes, that's right. And I think I'm a massive believer in giving. Just be a giver. You don't give to receive, you give because it helps people. And funnily enough, you end up receiving a lot more than you give anyway. A, it feels fantastic. And B, maybe they're coincidences, maybe they're not, but your world improves as a result of giving. And we know that at Hawthorn, but it's also, I think, a life lesson that is applicable across any field.
Incredible. So the legacy that you want to leave with the club, what's that?
Well, I've touched on it. I think that succession mindset is really important. I think being community focused, and the Kennedy Community Centre will help us do that. I mean, it's in the name. The community is in the name. So it's embedded in what we're trying to achieve every day. And, we're only a few weeks away from being able to move into that. We'll move into that space when our men's season is finished this year. And look, it is a truism, but hopefully leaving the club in better shape than I found it. And, we're tracking well. What that means in terms of on-field success, I think to me that's secondary. It's very important, of course. We're a football club. We're there to win premierships. We make no apologies for that. But it's that community benefit and the community contribution that we make is really important. And bringing everyone together and having a bit of fun along the way. It is a game. Football is a game. And there's a lot of seriousness around it. It's highly publicised. But at the end of the day, we play because we love it. And I think that element should never be forgotten.
It's incredible. Thank you, Andy. And this is The Inspired CEO, and we'll be right back.